The amount of nonsense that's covering the screen will probably look daunting to anyone who isn't familiar with the shoot 'em up bullet hell genre. But if the bright colors and hypnotic patterns seem intriguing to you, Blue Revolver might be the perfect jumping off point to get into these types of games. Blue Revolver prides itself on being accessible to players of varying skill levels. The first line in the game's Steam description reads, "Blue Revolver is a fresh new shoot 'em up built for newcomers and psychos alike," and I have to say that it definitely accomplishes this. I mean, the game's main mode is centered around this concept. It features a difficulty system that changes depending on how well you're playing. There's also parallel mode for more experienced players, which will lock the game on the hardest difficulty. This option is just insanely hard and seems perfect for genre veterans that are looking for a really brutal experience. But if you're like me and you're cursed with the reflexes of a puny mortal, you'll be spending most of your time in normal mode. This locks the game to a lower difficulty setting, but don't think for a second that they'll be letting you off easy. Even on a lower difficulty, you'll still be seeing plenty of crazy patterns that'll be burned into your retinas as you try to go to sleep at night. And you'll still run into tons of moments where you just barely escape without taking a hit. And just like in the other modes, you'll have to start from the beginning if you run out of lives. That's not to say that you'll feel overwhelmed though. On my first run through the campaign, I made it to stage 3 out of 5, and by the end of the day, I had reached, but had been killed by, the final boss. In the other game modes, if you make one wrong move, you lose a life, but there's a little bit more leniency in normal mode. Getting hit the first time will make you automatically drop a bomb as long as you have one available. This kind of functions as an extra life. You'll likely have a pretty hard time at first, but as you memorize obstacle patterns and enemy placements, you'll start beating areas without taking damage and just generally noticing improvements in your abilities. After a handful of attempts, I could beat the entire first and second stages without taking any damage. The first time you beat a boss without getting hit, you'll feel like you've ascended to a higher plane of existence. And if you're still getting stuck on the earlier levels, just hang in there. Once you rack up enough points from playing the game, you can unlock a free play mode that will let you experience the game at any difficulty without getting a game over. No matter which difficulty you choose, you'll appreciate the fact that your hitbox is very clear and that the obstacles flying at you rarely get hidden in the background. And for even better visibility, you can dim the background so you'll never have to worry about bullets blending in. Every death I've had in this game felt like a fair one. The scoring system is extremely satisfying. Quickly blowing up a bunch of ships will increase your score multiplier. Once that's maxed out, you'll be able to use your special weapon to rapidly increase your score. Blue Revolver refers to this as a flourish, which is just such a cool sounding name for the mechanic. It's not hard to pull it off, and it actually benefits you to do it since your special weapon takes out enemies faster, and hitting certain scores will award you with more lives during your run. I was really happy that this was all I had to do to rack up a lot of points, since juggling a bunch of extra gameplay mechanics would have felt way too demanding while dodging all of these bullets. You might be wondering if there's anything that really sets it aside from other games in the genre. And the answer is yes, it's the soundtrack. Despite what you might be thinking, that actually was not the most played trance song of last year. That was an excerpt from Blue Revolver's Stage 3 music. This high-energy slapfest of a soundtrack is the perfect fuel for fast-paced gameplay. When you finally run out of lives and the music stops, your first instinct is going to be to jump right back in. Playing this game with headphones will put you in an almost zen trance, and the next thing you know, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. Even if you get your ass handed to you every time you play, these songs will make you feel like you're a god at the game. I mean, just listen to this. What's even cooler is that many of these songs seem like they were structured around the levels. I noticed new melodies kicking in when a mini-boss would show up, or the song chilling out a little bit whenever the game gave me a break. I've actually listened to the soundtrack outside of the game and noticed myself remembering gameplay elements when certain parts came in. While Blue Revolver was released in 2016, now is a great time to pick it up since they just added more music in 2020. You'll be able to select these through the extras menu, and there are even more songs to unlock through the in-game shop. Unfortunately, I can't rave as much about the content outside of the main game. There's a mission mode where you'll have to beat a level or a specific part of a level under certain conditions. For example, clearing a stage without getting hit or trying to reach a certain score. I didn't really feel like this added that much to the game, but I did a few of them just because I wasn't ready to put it down. There's also a mode where you can use secret weapons, but I honestly almost forgot about it while writing my review. It's like they wanted to do something more with it, but didn't have the time or resources, and I just didn't really get why it was there in the first place. When you get tired of running through the campaign, you'll probably be more inclined to switch to another game rather than play the other modes. However, there is a stage select option, and I found that helpful for memorizing some of the later levels and getting used to fighting bosses. You can even select a specific section of the level so you don't have to play through the whole thing. So if you want to practice a tough part before trying to clear the game, this is a great feature. As far as the gameplay goes, it's a good idea to play with a joystick or controller. I found setting up the buttons for both my Steam controller and my DualShock 4 to be a little wonky, but I'd be willing to accept it if somebody told me it was just a Steam problem or even me being an idiot. But it's still something to keep in mind. Even if the setup gives you trouble, it's definitely better than using your keyboard. Something I really appreciate about this game is that it doesn't treat you like crap for not being great at it. It knows it's hard, and it knows it can seem pretty crazy at first, but you can tell the developers just want you to enjoy yourself. They could have easily titled normal mode Little Baby Weenie Mode, or something even more cruel like Poor Hand-Eye Coordination, No Friends Mode. They could have limited new players to one ship or only let you see the first 3 stages like some other shoot-'em-ups have done, but they didn't. Playing lower difficulties doesn't lock you out of experiencing any of the game's features. It seems like the devs just wanted you to see everything they clearly worked so hard on. On top of that, I'm pretty sure in an earlier build, normal mode was actually titled easy, but I'm happy to see that they kept my fragile ego in mind with the title change. Blue Revolver can be completed in about 30 minutes, but don't let the seemingly short campaign turn you away. This is definitely a case where quality over quantity applies. Unless you're highly skilled at this type of thing, you won't be clearing it on your first few tries. The fun comes from getting a little bit further or getting a slightly higher score each time, and that sick-ass soundtrack will make you want to keep trying over and over again. I score games on a letter scale from F to A+, and I'm giving Blue Revolver a solid A-. Whether you're a huge fan of shoot-'em-ups or this is the first one you've ever heard of, I'm confident that you'll enjoy it. The only reason I can't score it any higher is that the extra modes just don't add enough to the game. And while a 30-minute runtime isn't unusual for this type of thing, and I've logged over 10 hours playing it, I could see it feeling pretty repetitive to some players. That being said, this game does a really great job of capturing the essence of the genre to an extent where I can say it's the perfect way to find out if you like shoot-'em-ups as a whole. And even if you don't love the game, you might find yourself booting it up just to listen to the soundtrack. Thanks for watching, and if you liked this review, subscribe to see more like it in the near future.